You think this is bad, you should see the state of my underwear.
Hi there and welcome to another video. 2021 sees the 25th anniversary of the Tales of franchise. It also sees the release of the latest in the series, Tales of Arise. Tales of Arise is a sprawling, epic adventure of self-discovery, revenge, liberation, and forgiveness. The story is set 300 years after the occupation of Danann by the more technologically advanced and art-wielding inhabitants of the twin world Renan. The Renan have enslaved the Danann and are using them as conduits to harvest the planet's astral energy. In particular, this astral energy collection is of the utmost importance to the Lords of Renan, who are locked in competition over it, for whoever collects the most will be the next sovereign ruler. You play the part of the protagonist, who is initially just called Iron Mask. You awake in one such slave camp with no memories, an iron mask firmly stuck to your head, and the inability to feel any pain. That's it, as the story is going to go for this review. We want zero spoilers, as it is an excellent story. The narrative and pacing of the story are both excellent, particularly given the enormity and scope of the game. It does a fantastic job of keeping you engrossed, revealing unexpected plot twists, character developments, interactions all the way through. While some of the main characters may be JRPG tropes, the story doesn't always move in the direction you think it's going to, and that genuinely keeps you on your toes and stops the game from becoming stale. The game drives the narrative through a combination of controlled gameplay, anime cutscenes, and semi-animated comic book style panels, all of which gel perfectly and look absolutely stunning in the Unreal 4 engine. As with most modern JRPGs, you control the main character, which you can select from between available party members, as you traverse the various semi-open world map sections of the game world, completing quests, sub-quests, and collecting items, in much the same way as Dragon Quest XI did. While in this exploration mode, you are limited to directional controls, sprint, and jump. You can interact with items and NPCs within the environment, and of course there are wandering monsters. For the most part, these monsters can easily be avoided if you so wish. However, if you get too close, then combat is initiated, and the game changes up a gear. The combat mechanics are really where Tales of Arise shines. The initial tutorials do a fantastic job of introducing you to new controls, introducing basic mechanics, and the foundation to build and expand upon your abilities and movesets. In fact, these gradual tutorials continue until well after the game's 10-hour mark, never overwhelming you with too much information. The level of customization, automation, and diversity within the combat mechanics is incredible. Just when you think you've mastered one character, you can simply switch over to another character during combat and learn a whole new approach. It's also one of the few games that I've played where the AI does a good job. In addition, you have complete autonomy in fine-tuning the parameters that define the AI behavior. You can decide when or which items they will use, at what point during the fight, how they will act, and which enemies or abilities they will prioritize. Abilities, synergies, modifiers, and bonuses are offered via the character-specific in-game skill trees, which are called skill panels in Tales of Arise. Different skill panels are unlocked either as the story progresses or as you reach a milestone in-game. Each skill panel has 5 skills attached. The first is unlocked for free, and subsequent skills are unlocked using SP, or skill points. These are gained by completing quests or defeating monsters. If you unlock all 5 skills on a panel, then you gain an additional passive bonus. This gives you so much freedom to create the party dynamics and build that you want to play. And again, the pacing is perfect. You are never overwhelmed with options, nor are you starved for choice. As the game progresses, they just open up organically for the most part. Unless you set the game to auto or semi-auto, combat is very hands-on. You have full control over your character within the combat arena. Basic attacks, special attacks, jump, dodge, counters, combo attacks, and ability modifiers. Certain abilities or breakpoints will trigger combos with other characters from your party. These are both incredibly visually impressive and satisfying. They still feel like an integral part of the combat rather than any kind of mini cutscene. Overall, the combat felt slightly reminiscent of a combination between Final Fantasy XIV and the more recent Final Fantasy VII Remake, but it still manages to apply its own unique take and keep combat fresh, even after many hours of playing. Although some of the boss or elite fights can feel far more Monster Hunter or Raid boss than standard JRPG fare, taking anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to down a creature, depending on your party level. While while this can feel like a great accomplishment when they're defeated, conversely it can be very frustrating if you fail at the final hurdle. You run out of potions and have to start all over again. The game does have some soft checks on level requirements throughout the story. After initially trying a couple of the side quests, I had originally decided to leave them well alone and concentrate on the main story. I didn't feel they were as well written or as fleshed out as they could have been. However, after failing several times to down one of the bosses, it became quite apparent that I had to go back and mop up all the side quests in order to sufficiently level my party to take on the challenge. For the most part, the game is incredibly well voiced. However, some of the main characters do fall all too easily into the JRPG stereotypes. There are the weird outbursts of emotion at what seems like very odd times, coupled with teenage "you all hate me, don't you?" moments. But this is all part and parcel of a JRPG. The only times that the voicing really started to grate on me was with the owls and during combat. One of the game's collectible mechanics is to find owls hidden around the open world. These owls can then be returned to the Owl King and Queen in the Owl Forest in return for armor upgrades and cosmetic items. These owls will hoot when you are in the vicinity to alert you to search the immediate environment for hidden creatures. However, the hooting is incessant and not so much a bird-owl noise as it is some kind of weird human camp sex voice. It's really hard to explain, but you will definitely know it when you hear it. Similarly annoying are the dialogue interactions of the various members of your party that occur during combat. While initially very impressive, the characters voice the titles of their special abilities as they execute them and bounce witty one-liners or words of encouragement off each other as they fight. Now this is all well and good when there are only one or two people in the party, but as soon as you have a full ensemble, combat sounds more like a cocaine-fueled conversation at a table full of 80 stockbrokers, everyone talking at once over the top of each other, ultimately becoming a wall of noise. When you factor in some of the fights taking upwards of 10 minutes, this can become particularly jarring. However, these are only very minor gripes in an epic game that has been remarkably well executed. For the longest time, the Tales of series seems to have been in the shadow of the Final Fantasy franchise. Zestiria and more recently Berseria did a lot to update the franchise, making it more accessible, mainstream, and increasing its popularity. However, Arise is by far the best entry so far, and in my opinion it just edges out any competition from Final Fantasy. Yeah, I think this game is better than any of the Final Fantasy games. As usual, thank you for taking the time to watch. If you found this video useful, please consider hitting the like, follow and subscribe. Don't forget to bookmark our website at www.enrd.cc for all the latest news and reviews. You can also follow on Twitter at Ashra1, where there's always a live giveaway, as well as news, offers and information as it happens. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.